Welcome back to the Last Week This Week podcast, episode 60. I'm Ian Scott.
And I don't have a stupid lightsaber whip because why would you change? Why would you change a classic? Anyways, my name is Zack.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
And this is the podcast where we talk about TV and film topics from the last week and give them to you all this week. And yeah, we have, as you can guess, some Star Wars to talk about today and a few other topics.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Pirates of the Caribbean movies are confirmed, 2 of them in the works. Steve Carell's coming back to comedy. We have a stupid lightsaber whip, but we will get back to that later on. Kraven the Hunter, apparently Sony thinks is a big hit, and people are going to want to watch it over and over. A 10-year-old Peter Parker is reportedly showing up in Venom 3, and Damon Lindelof and Chris Mundy are going to be writing that Lantern series for DC. But first, our first topic is the Beetlejuice trailer that came out earlier this past week. So yeah, this is Michael Keaton coming back with Tim Burton for the sequel. We also have Winona Ryder. We also have Willem Dafoe,
Jenna Ortega.
I was gonna say Wednesday herself. The original, I forget her name. The mom.
Oh, the mother. The Catherine O'Hara.
Catherine O'Hara. And yeah, in a way, it feels like. It's strange. This is a movie that's coming out in 2024, but some of the animation, like straight up, just looks the same as it did.
Right?
In when did that come out? The 90s? 88.
Yeah.
So at first, when I watched it, like some of the sequences with like the worm and some of the other, so like kind of like that the nightmarish sort of worlds that they would go into in the first movie. It was like, oh, geez, like, shouldn't we have updated this a little bit?
You think so?
Like just a bit with the visuals. But then after thinking about it, I was like, I don't know. I kind of like that it's got this weird, like unfinished, like kind of amateurish quality to it.
Right,
So,
like everything's almost like a puppet or an animatronic or something.
Yeah.
Right. But like I love how real everything feels, you know, like although it's in like a Tim Burton like heightened like really unrealistic looking world.
Right.
It all feels like it's not reliant on CGI, which I think would have really rubbed people the wrong way. Like if you really modernized things, I think you would have just it would have just felt like a modern, legacy sequel like everything else has been.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like it should have been. I just at first I was like, whoa, we're really taking it back. But I kind of appreciate it
for sure.
And yeah, I other like besides like the cameras looking better, I don't really feel like we've skipped too much of a beat. Which is great. And I'm really excited that a Tim Burton movie is happening in 2024 that, although, yes, this is a sequel and like you could say that it's like part of the whole let's reinvent IPs that people love. Something about this one particularly feels like everybody involved is actually like really wants to do it, and like there's
is passionate about the story and the world, and I don't know. I think it's like I saw it for the first time like a year or two ago, and like I really enjoyed it. I think you are probably more of a fan of it than me, like because you probably watched it like growing up, maybe
a little bit, more like when I was getting out of high school.
Okay, but yeah, I don't know. I think and I think you'll have to refresh me on exactly what like Beetlejuice's goal was, because like I know his goal was to like marry Lydia Dietz and like what kind of like permanently stay in this world, right? Was that kind of like the idea?
I'm fairly again, like I watched it a year or two ago with you.
right.
Fairly certain. But yeah, I mean but
he also kind of seemed to be
going on
like a decent being, like by the end of the movie, like isn't that my recollection? I feel so bad.
No, they were trying to get rid of him. Like that
so he's like the antagonist. Okay.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, I think what's exciting would be, and I hope they go this direction where like it's a like, you know, Winona Ryder, Jenna Ortega like duo like journey. I think where like you have somebody who's like been through it before and like who I already identify with in the movie, and like, you know, have seen her before. I think it would be good to have her throughout it rather than just be like this mother kind of cameo.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe they don't go that direction and they just go the straight up like, you know, how they did it in '88. They just do it with Jenna Ortega now.
I think either he will be still trying to marry Lydia Dietz, or he, or he could try to marry her daughter, and then like it'll be like Winona Ryder's like thing to like stop that from happening, and
right.
You know, they say that, you know, her Winona Ryder's dad, who was
who played him?
He was just like had the whole like Rust shooting.
No, that wasn't her dad. The Alec Baldwin was one of the two that moved into the house when they were like already dead.
Oh yeah. Oh God, I'm okay. Sorry. All right, but they died, right?
Right,
and
they were dead in that movie.
The normal couple. Okay.
Right.
I was gonna say, I was like, do you think that we get an Alec Baldwin cameo in here?
I think like it would be like him and gosh, I shouldn't be forgetting her name because she is a big actress. Him and the wife who, you know, was in that first movie. I would love to see them in like, you know, that whatever it is, like that afterlife kind of area.
Gina Davis.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Gina Davis is great. I know, you know, Alec Baldwin's gone through some controversies in the past, and I think the Rust thing probably will stop him from cameoing in this.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, it's possible we could see Gina, but I was thinking the same thing. Like, I think it would be fun to see him in the movie for a bit, but I am like dubious because I think like even though he did complete shooting on Rust, like I wonder if he's like was like, because he was probably contractually obligated and wanted to finish it with respect to like the camera woman that died. So yeah, I'm dubious that he'll like actually show up, but it would be nice. It would be cool. But you know, it would be, and like I think the other thing about this trailer that I was kind of that slightly sets it apart from other reinvigorated IPs is the only thing besides like the choral chant of like the song at the end of the movie that they've redone to make like this choral chant version, and then when he's like turned, like we see the back of his head and he has like the tentacles come out.
Right, he did it in the first movie, right? Yeah.
There doesn't necessarily seem to be too many like callbacks and references to like old things. Now maybe we see the movie and we'll be like, oh my God, yes, I know we've seen the thing. Like I think I like the one where his like the tentacles come out of his face, because like that's just
him. Like
that's just like a thing that he would do.
Right. It's not necessarily a callback, you know.
But it does seem like they're hopefully kind of treading new ground. You know, like he's like going to be like this therapist sort of character at one point in the movie, which seemed kind of funny. And so like, I don't know.
It's interesting though that like, and I think it's smart for them to do this where like, you know how like the first movie introduces us to this whole world through Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin. I think they're like fully skipping that, like, you know, outside presence, like, and fully it's just a movie about Beetlejuice and, you know, like Lydia Dietz and her daughter. Like I think that's a good like direction to go, because like the audience already knows this world. They know the characters, and they don't necessarily need it to be like bogged down to reintroducing aspects that we already know.
Right.
So I think it's like overall, I think it's a good direction, and it looks quality production wise. And who knows? Maybe there's going to be a third one after this, because it feels like they're setting that up, right?
Yeah, I think it. Sure,
Like
you want to say
title-wise.
Beetlejuice?
That's what it would be, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think I have a sneak, like, I wonder if the reason that they get into that world with like the sandworm and everything, if like one of them, if one of them like dies, like what if Winona Ryder dies and then her whole thing is to try to stop Beetlejuice from marrying her daughter, but from the afterlife? I don't know. Could be.
Yeah, wait. So did they go into the afterlife as like real people in the first movie? Like,
I think they died. I could be wrong.
wait, what?
When I think that's how they were spirits, right? They died, and that's how they got in there.
Well, yeah. So like Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin, but like,
Yes.
did like Winona Ryder's character ever go into the afterlife?
I don't
think
so.
Right?
No.
So like aren't they both seen in the afterlife in this movie? Like, did
That's
they
what
die?
I was saying. That's what I'm saying.
Oh wow, yeah. It didn't even click with me that they have to be dead. But then wouldn't you also like logically you would see the dad like in this world. So maybe he does show up, not Alec Baldwin, but like Catherine O'Hara's husband in the movie. Maybe he shows up. I don't remember who plays him. But yeah, interesting direction to kill off a mother and her child.
Yeah, and it also seems like we have a it also seems that we have like Willem Dafoe and then Monica Bellucci's characters are like Monica Bellucci seems like she's like this other antagonist that's like upset about something that Beetlejuice did and is like after him. So there is this interesting
antagonist.
Yeah, so I am.
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's a cool like. Yeah, it definitely seems like they're treading new ground and like coming up. Like obviously you want a new story, and I feel like even like the Ghostbuster sequels, which like did well, or
the last one got ripped though.
Sure, but you know, like some of these other IPs, they kind of. They're just like, it's a new story, but all it is like, hey, remember this thing? Remember this thing? This one seems like a genuine, like new story. And I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah. The fact that he didn't come back to this for 36 years, I think means he has something in mind that he wants to tell.
Right.
And yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
Classic Tim Burton. Well, our next topic I think we want to get into is the 2 Pirates of the Caribbean movies that have been confirmed. One is going to be a spinoff with Margot Robbie starring, and the other will be just a full-on reboot. And I didn't hear about this until recently, but there has been surprising talks of a Johnny Depp, Jack Sparrow cameo in one of these films. I can't imagine it would be the reboot. You know, since that would logically be centered on Jack Sparrow, right? But the other, I think, I don't know. I know like for background, like Johnny Depp was in this whole like Amber Heard case, and like during it, he was like, he told everybody that like he wasn't allowed to like move forward with the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff, and then he would never work with Disney again, and so like. Now there's these talks of like a possible cameo. It's hard for me to believe it with all this history behind it. And especially like if you're handing the reins of like the franchise to another like person, like why would he even want to come back for that? But I don't know. I think like some points I was like hearing that I agreed with were like, if you really want to appease every fan out there, I think you should make this like a Jack Sparrow / Margot Robbie's new character movie where it's like a buddy pirate, whatever you want to call, like story comedy, and it like sends off Jack Sparrow in a good way and like reignite or ignites the story for the new character. I think that could be fun, but I just don't see it like realistically happening.
Right. I mean, if you're doing a true reboot where we're saying like this is a whole new Jack Sparrow. And you're going to do a Margot Robbie movie, like a separate spin-off kind of movie.
Right, set in the same world, right?
I don't think that it would make any sense, and I think it would be very confusing to most people if you had a Johnny, like, because obviously the Johnny Depp cameo, if he is supposed to be like Jack Sparrow, would only make sense to do it in the Margot Robbie. But then you run into the issue where it's like, well, we have this one Pirates of the Caribbean franchise that's a completely new reboot, and then we're going to try to make a separate story that's still within the original canon, but with a new character, while acknowledging that like Johnny Depp is Jack Sparrow in that. And it seems,
I think, sorry, go on.
Well, it seems like not a great business move, story move. So I don't know if that's actually going to happen. Now, if it's like a reboot where I could see him coming back as like a different character in the reboot, potentially.
Interesting.
Just as like a nod. Like the way that like in the third one we got to meet his dad, and he was like basically Jack Sparrow before Jack Sparrow.
He could play a young Jack Sparrow's dad, sure. Yeah.
I could see something like that. But I don't know. I think having two different timeline things going on would be
right. I think in general that's like even without like a Johnny Depp cameo or like a huge role in like the Margot Robbie one, I think even having two separate franchises within a franchise going just makes no sense. Like,
yeah, it's like basically the way that I could equate it to is like, let's say Lucasfilm was saying we're going to reboot Star Wars, but then we're going to continue on spin-offs of the original like timeline, like the original canon.
Right. Like, why would you? Yeah. Like, who would have enough time to follow both, or like even want to follow both, or I don't know.
And the only, I mean, like DC's kind of done it well with like the Batman, but I would argue that it's been clearly laid out through like years of consistent output. Whereas like the Pirates has been going on for like almost 20 years now. Where you would see Ben Affleck in the like Justice League movies. And then it was like, this was a very different, like Robert Pattinson, like Batman. And that's the only thing that I can relate it to, but it wasn't like, okay, now we're going to reboot the Justice League while now introducing like this new character. So like, I don't know, it just seems weird. I don't think we're actually gonna see a Johnny Depp cameo. No. And if he is, I don't think it's gonna be a Jack Sparrow.
No, but like, I guess producer Jerry Bruckheimer has been like, like constantly he's like, yeah, well, if he wants to return, I'd be happy to have him. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm sure you are.
I'm sure you are, yeah.
But yeah, he also said, oh, sorry.
Well, just also to add to the likelihood that it won't happen, as much as like that Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial was very divisive, and people felt very passionately about it, when they could have been doing other things with their time, honestly, in my opinion. But there's a lot of people who are on Amber's side, and there's a lot of people who are on Johnny's side. And either way you put one of them in a movie, you probably
invite a lot of hate and a lot of love, sure.
But with that hate, you're gonna like already put yourself at a disadvantage. And I don't think that like with a whole new movie and a new franchise, that I don't think Disney would, especially under like Bob Iger, who wants to like make these big hit movies based off of like IP that they have. I don't think that that's like a cost he would want to incur. Yeah,
I totally agree. I don't know. Yeah. So, and what I was going to say too is that they're prioritizing, like Jerry Bruckheimer also said, they're prioritizing the Margot Robbie spinoff. So I don't know. Maybe that means they won't go to a reboot until like she's done with the movies or tired of the movies. I don't know. And maybe that's like just a super long-term plan.
Maybe. Which like
it's interesting.
And like if you say like they're going to just focus on Margot's stuff, I could see it. I don't know if they would do it considering all the drama and everything, but I could see it more likely. But if you're planning on putting them out relatively within the same time of each other and concurrently going, I think it's a bad idea.
For sure. Well, I think that's our thoughts on this one. Now we get to go to one of my, I think, favorite topics of the day. A very cool one. Basically, we got the news that Steve Carell is set to star in a new HBO comedy series from Bill Lawrence, who created Ted Lasso and Scrubs. And there was also one other person tied to this. I will let you know in a second. But this is just a super exciting pairing in my view. It's in Matt Tarsus, who wasn't Matt Tarsus the one who did Picard, or was that somebody else?
That's Terry Matalas.
Terry Matalas. Okay. Well, I don't know exactly who Matt Tarsus is. I feel like I've heard the name before. But yeah, so this is going to be an untitled, or we don't have a title yet, but it's a half-hour series that's already been given a 10-episode order. And the official kind of synopsis is that it's a show set on a college campus centering on a author's complicated relationship with his daughter. And so, yeah, I think this pairing of a legendary comedy showrunner and a legendary comedy, star can't really go wrong. I think this is
until it does.
Yeah, but like Bill Lawrence has had a really great track record of like shows recently, and I think it's hard to mess it up. Like, but you can point to recent shows like Greg Daniels and Steve Carell recently reunited for that Space Force show, and that didn't really do that well, right? So like it can not work, but I don't know. I think it'll be exciting to see those two pair up, and I think the concept is
what do you think about the concept? Because like there's not much I get out of that. I'm like, okay. He's on a college campus with his daughter and he's an author.
I think but,
if somebody said Ted Lasso, an American football
that's
coach
a little more
goes to teach soccer, and I'm like, not super exciting.
No, but
there's there is a hint of like comedy in that, just because of like how absurd, not absurd, but like switching from the two sports. I
think what it has like the ability, like I think it's more leaning towards like it is a comedy, or it will be a comedy, but it's also like it's a show, a dramedy. Sure, in a sense, but like it's a show like I think like Ted Lasso, like The Office, Scrubs, where like it will make you laugh, but it will also like really make you cry. And I think this will be like very, very family oriented and drama around like a college professor / author trying to like maybe not embarrass his daughter, or his daughter trying not to embarrass him like at the college he's always been at. And I think it's
definitely going to be him embarrassing his daughter.
I think it could be both though, but maybe. Sure.
Depends on who. Sure.
But if he's an author, it sounds like he's semi-famous. At least he would be famous on campus, maybe.
Right.
So there's that kind of element thrown into it. I guess I'm just excited to see Steve Carell in another comedy series. I think that's exciting in itself. So
yeah, I'm excited to see him in a comedy series, because I shouldn't say anything about Space Force because it's not like I watched it. It's just like I looked at it, I looked at the previews and went, not for me. It looked like, to me, like it looked like a quick reaction to like a political thing that happened, and like let's make a comedy, like satirical comedy about it. And it just like was like, all right, no, that was probably not a good thing to do.
It was like, oh, let's make another workplace comedy, but make it like about the biggest meme of this year.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I get it. Like, but it was like, I don't know, like it felt forced, and I was like, I see through it a little bit.
Right. Yeah, and from what I heard, like the first season not doing well, like they cut the budget for season 2 and they had like less episodes, and like, so, I think it was just doomed to fail at that point.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe it could have gotten its footing at some point.
I love Scrubs.
I love Scrubs.
And I know a lot of people love Ted Lasso, and like I bet people are like gonna scream at me like, you haven't seen Ted Lasso. I love Ted Lasso. I saw the first episode, and then I know everyone's like, oh, you gotta get past the first episode. I was like, I know, but I was like, which
wasn't that great yet.
And I mean, it was fine, but it wasn't like. But anyways, I love Scrubs, and if it's like how I hear Ted Lasso is like funny, but also very like can have emotional moments, then I think that's
the greatest pairing you could have for an actor like Steve Carell, who can deliver on both ends,
Right.
Yeah. So let's hope that HBO doesn't like meddle with it and screw it up in any way. And
what are you talking about? HBO like puts like some of the best stuff out there.
It's just HBO can be a little,
maybe
divisive.
Warner Brothers.
Sure, that's what I mean. Yes, that's what I mean. Yeah, but that's all.
I think HBO has. I think
there's. Yes, HBO has a great track record, but it's just the new ownership that scares me sometimes.
I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think they'll be fine because Warner Brothers is a little desperate, and I think they're gonna allow like the like the Tom Cruise, the Timothée Chalamet deal, like in this deal, I think will be like they're giving their creators like a lot of freedom to make great things, and I think that's like their investment moving forward. So
I don't think that they're desperate though. I think it's all been very strategic. I think they incurred a lot of debt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they have $40 billion in debt. Like, but that's not so much.
But that's not from them. Like it's not from the new regime. It's from the old regime, and they are trying to find ways. Now, some of the things I've been like critical against, and we're also getting off topic, but I don't think that it's a thing to worry about the creativity of this show or other shows. I would be more like, I'm more critical of like something like, let's make a whole Harry Potter TV show. Mm-hmm. Even though I know there are people who are very like have always wanted a Harry Potter TV show,
or like Lord of the Rings movies.
Or Lord of the Rings. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Where I'm like, well, do we really have an idea here? But
right. Yeah. No, I feel you. But yeah, I think that's all we wanted to talk about with this new exciting, maybe not super exciting, but exciting to me show. But yeah, now we get to move on to Zach's maybe least favorite topic of the day, and discuss this lightsaber whip.
This stupid lightsaber whip.
It sounds like you are not the most pleased with this addition, but
defend the whip. Defend it.
I'm gonna. Well, so I want to hear your arguments against it, and then I can defend it from there.
All right. Look. So I understand this is a character from the books, and
recent books too.
Recent books, and it's canon.
Right.
Sure. Mm-hmm. But canon and whatever you make canon doesn't always mean that it's good. And this is my thought. This is my thinking about it. We have seen. We have our original just one lightsaber, one bladed, whatever you want to call it, saber. We have our double-sided lightsaber. We have two lightsabers at the same time. We have a lightsaber that has like hilts coming across like Kylo Ren.
We have the spinning lightsaber.
Right. But all of that is
straight.
Blade of light. And yes, light could, I guess, bend.
Yes.
But I have to say, like, I guess I just, to me, it looks stupid.
Uh-huh.
I just feel like a lightsaber is a lightsaber is a lightsaber and not a light whip.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even understand. Like that would mean like the fact that it's a whip would mean that it has to have some sort of like weight to it to determine like how it's gonna move. And if it's light, I don't understand how that would even be like possible, even though we're talking about a fictional object that's like just bzzz.
Right.
I don't know. I really feel like it's not gonna ruin the show for me, but I just think it's kind of dumb. Like, for example, how would you feel about like a like a scythe, like a sickle? Like, how would you feel about a light sickle? I'd be like, that's like, it doesn't make any sense.
I think my thing is that like in the High Republic era, I feel like a lot can happen because you had so much knowledge and like resources to like make and adjust lightsabers. And I think like, so basically I'm going to explain to you the lore, I guess, behind like this kind of lightsaber and why she has it and whatnot. But so lightsabers in general are like, the science behind them is that they're a stream of superheated plasma, and its blade shape is controlled by a magnetic field generator. So basically the lightsaber whip is a development on that, where they weaken that magnetic field and it becomes more malleable, and meaning the plasma stream kind of like is able to be manipulated like a whip. So it's like, it's not terrible like logic behind it to me. And the reason why Vanestra Rowe like has this whip is she installed it after getting like a Force vision about it. And so basically the Force kind of like was like, hey, you should make this thing because it'll help you out. And yeah, so look, she's the only one who has ever been confirmed to have it. I don't, and so like, I think what makes it better to me is that because it's like a weakened like magnetic field, the like lightsaber itself is weaker in that state, is what they've explained. So it doesn't have like the full damage of like the lightsaber in its like, full state. So she's not like insanely busted with a lightsaber whip. So yeah, like I think because of those aspects, I don't hate it. It's logical. It's like it's weaker in that state. I don't know. I don't necessarily hate it. I think we are pushing lines that should not be crossed, because next thing you know, we're gonna get a light sickle, and then we're gonna get light karate, light nunchucks, and I'm gonna be like, what are we doing here? When does it stop? I think that this is a dangerous line to be going across. I don't think we should mess with the lightsaber. I agree. It's best, I think, to keep things simple, and I think the problem, I guess, with maybe Star Wars in general is that it's been around for so long that people want to keep like seeing the line being pushed, right?
Right.
So look, I don't necessarily fully disagree with your point, but I don't hate this lightsaber whip either. I didn't love it at first, but the fact that there is good reason and lore behind it, and I like the lore behind it,
I do.
Satisfies me.
Look, the lore behind it is logical. I do understand it. I appreciate that like it's at a weakened state. I appreciate that they're trying to make some sense of why it's malleable like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be interested to see in the show how it'll be helpful, as opposed to just a normal lightsaber.
Right.
But we'll see. I don't know what difference it's gonna make, but we'll see.
You'd also be surprised to know that it was first introduced in like the Legend stuff in '85 in a book. I
still think it's
it was basically used by like Palpatine's successor in that book, and defeated Luke with that light whip. So,
well, I still think it's dumb.
But I don't know. So we haven't also discussed like the color of this lightsaber. We have never seen a purple lightsaber besides Mace Windu's until now.
Right.
I think I was never under the impression that like Mace Windu was always going to be the only one with that color.
Right.
But I'm okay with them using like that color again. I don't know about you.
I mean, it honestly didn't even faze me. Like I was like,
oh wow, yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Right. You just cared way more about like the whip itself. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like it at this point. Like colors don't even like faze me anymore. I'm just like, oh yeah, cool.
Yeah. But it does mean that she is like wielding, at least partly the dark side of the Force. So we'll see if that comes into play at all. I mean, it didn't ever really come into play with Mace Windu, to be honest. Like
a little bit,
but they never really brought it up.
Yeah, but I think more in like 3, he was like, we have to kill him. And he was like very, like, I always saw that as like, he didn't even want to like have him, he didn't even want to do the stand trial thing that like Anakin was pushing for. He was like, no, we have to kill him, Right. And it was like, well, I mean,
that is darker for a Jedi than what a Jedi would usually go through. So,
because they were there to arrest him, and then he was like, no, I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah. I mean, he's the Sith Lord pretty much, right? I don't blame Mace Windu, but it is non-Jedi for sure.
That I always saw as like the darker
Anakin
side.
was definitely being more like, no, we got to arrest him, and he's like, nah, this guy's way too dangerous.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we'll see some of that darker stuff from this Vanestra Rowe character.
Yeah.
But cool to see a character from the books like like the Chewbacca type, like the Wookiee type character and Boba Fett come in from the comics.
Right.
That's cool to see those characters come in from books to live action. So
yeah, no, it is. Yeah. I like that. I like, let's bring in like characters that we've developed in other media, but
right. Yeah, no, I kind of get it.
What about a light dagger? Is that what's next? A light dagger?
Well, that's very feasible.
No, I know, but like, come on.
Look, I guess
I could kind of see like if we had like a dual like light dagger character, could be cool. But also it's like, what are you going to do with this? You might as well just have knives, like, I don't know. Like, what are you going to do with this? As opposed to like this long saber that can actually cut through things, I don't know.
Sure. You'd have to be really trained in knife combat to like go up against a lightsaber. Yeah. But yeah, I guess what I was saying is that if it's in the High Republic era, I don't mind it since they had the resources back then, I guess. Like if you want to go a little weird with things back then, that's fine with me. But if it's after the fall of Order 66, I think I'm going to have a problem with it.
Right.
Yeah. That's all. But yeah, I think that's all our Star Wars talk for today. But now we get to go to our favorite people, Sony people. Yeah. You mentioned earlier in the podcast that they feel so strongly about Kraven that they've delayed it to better serve a time where people can go to the movies a lot and rewatch this thing because they think
Christmas.
A lot of people will do that. Yeah. So December this year, not even a full 2 months after Venom: The Last Dance comes out. So that's really good timing, I think. Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, I think like how many weeks after the third?
So October 27th, I think is the third Venom movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they just said December, so that would be like if it's the first or second week of December, it's like 6 weeks after.
I mean, like at that point, like I do think it's close, but at that point, like
it's too close.
All the money that Venom's gonna make
Mhm.
It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna have legs to go past like 4 weeks.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, with the way movies have been going recently, they go to digital so fast. Um, so yeah, I mean, sure, maybe 4 weeks is all it gets, but like, do you think people are actually like? I don't think Venom 3 is going to be good. First off, because I don't think the first two movies were good. So I can't imagine people would be like, oh yeah, a month later, let's go back to the movies for another piece of shit film, and made by the same people in the same universe. Like I don't see it working for me. And maybe Craven is somehow surprisingly good, and maybe that's what gets people back into the movies. For Sony at least, but um, I don't know. It feels like a very flawed strategy, and with the way we saw things in the trailers, I can't imagine that it's as good as Sony thinks it is. Um, so I don't know. It just seems like a recipe for disaster at the moment.
I don't. They said, oh, we're delaying it because of the writer's strike at first. Like it.
Yes, they did that.
And
so it's supposed to come out like last September, or yeah, last September I think it was.
Right.
Or
and
October.
Now they're saying, oh, we're pushing it back because people are going to want to watch it over and over. And part of me just, straight up, I don't believe them at all.
I don't either.
I can't imagine after watching the trailer that they put out that this movie is going to be great. I think if anything, it'll be the best movie that they've put out regarding like this spiderless Spider-Man, universe. Like I think has the potentiality to be the best. But I don't think it'll be good. Like I think
it's not saying much, to be honest.
Right. So like if they're thinking, oh, this is the best thing we've ever done, people are gonna watch it over and over again, but comparing it to what they've already put out, like maybe they're telling the truth, but I don't it's going out, it's gonna be close to like Wicked. I think it's like we don't really have much for this movie. It's going up against some like heavy hitters around Christmas time. We'll put it out before the Christmas weekend. Hopefully, make some numbers.
It just feels like such a weird time.
The Venom, Venom, like hopefully some people like the Venom movie, so like maybe it'll have a bit of a hype, and we'll be able to like write this off before the next quarter, so we can just, I don't know. So
I've never heard of a movie being delayed to that time period because they thought it would perform better. Like I don't know. It's just, I mean, maybe I'm naive to that, but like I've never heard of that explanation before.
Well, some people like do push movies like and want to release them around that time period because it will. People will go like Wonka was put out around Christmas time. Avatar 2 was put out around
but
The Way of Water was put out around Christmas.
Those movies feel right for Christmas time. Craven does not. Like that. This feels like a summer blockbuster type movie, and it just feels so weird for December release.
Yeah, but I mean, it was the same thing with like Aquaman. Aquaman, the first one came out in November. The second one came out in December.
Sure.
Like it is a good time for going to see movies.
And Lost Kingdom performed well in December. So
so I understand it. I just don't actually think that I don't think that's why. And I don't think it's something that anybody's going to do. Some people, but I think most people are not going to want to watch it over and over. No, that's what I think.
I can't imagine, but like Aaron Taylor Johnson has kind of hyped this by saying he wouldn't have taken it like the role if he didn't think there was a lot to the character to bring. And I don't know. It seems like, people around the movie have confidence in it. Maybe we should keep our hopes up or keep our, I don't know, expectations low and our hopes high. I don't know what the saying is.
Expectations low. No, hopes low and our, no, I don't know. You got me confused.
It's one of those two.
I don't, maybe to some people it'll be good to them. I think they've already like made the characters like somebody I'm not particularly interested in seeing already from like how the origin story is going. But if Russell Crowe is a good like antagonist, I could potentially see it going well. But
I mean, it is Russell Crowe, so
But then we also had Russell Crowe in Love and Thunder, and although he was one of the best parts of Love and Thunder, in my opinion,
it's the writing worsened his role.
Yeah.
So you can't always fix bad writing. So, but yeah, it'll be cool to see both Aaron Taylor Johnson and Russell Crowe. Like that'll be a plus to go see this movie for me.
Right.
Yeah. But next with the Sony stuff, we have another worst report in my opinion is that in this new Venom Last Dance, that will officially be the last Venom movie. The report is that we are getting a 10-year-old Peter Parker appearing in the movie.
I mean, and we should clarify, this is a rumor on the internet, but when I was reading up on it, it's like from comicbookmovie.com, the plots of the last two Venom movies had also been leaked online. And although this one seems pretty out there,
so did the whole plot get leaked?
They're saying, so what they're saying is Eddie bonds with the kid and decides not to kill. So basically, it is said that Venom sets out to kill 10-year-old Peter Parker in an effort to avoid suffering the same fate as many of his multiversal variants, the death of Spider-Man, which would kind of tie into the post-credits of the Spider-Man No Way Home, which kind of does tie in a bit. Eddie bonds with the kid, eventually decides not to kill him. However, he soon finds himself battling Toxin, the Jury, which was like that group that we were talking about earlier in the year, and then a new group of symbiotes, with some of them gunning for Peter. And then on top of that, we have Juno Temple playing a lieutenant and Chiwetel Ejiofor playing Orwell Taylor. And his son is one of Carnage's victims.
Oh, okay.
Look, I think that this is a very plausible idea.
It is.
I think
when you laid out like that,
but I really just can't deal with this whole universe has been a complete an utter shit show.
Right.
And the fact that we're doing another on top of the stuff that Madam Web was kind of trying to do with Peter not being born yet, and we have a 10-year-old Peter, and I'm it's just it muddles the characters up so much. It just feels weird. And now we're adding this multiversal side of things, but we're not a part of the MCU, and we're not canon to the MCU necessarily, but we are.
No, they're for sure canon to the MCU, because I mean they Venom showed up in the MCU. He was there,
yeah. And I mean, and on top of this being the last one, which to me is a little strange, because this has been their biggest moneymaker out of the whole thing.
I think it's because Tom Hardy wants to be done. I don't think it's because the studio wants to be,
Maybe, but then they could just recast somebody, you know what I mean? So
sure, you could keep Venom going, but you would have to have it not be Eddie Brock. But there has been other versions where it's not been Eddie Brock before. So.
Sure, I think it's because they've seen how all of this has been playing out, and they're look, what are we gonna build? What are we build? We're not building towards anything.
That's the thing. They
it's all
been building
and burning
this whole time to an actual Sinister Six forming, going up against a real adult Peter Parker as Spider-Man, but they have never showed him once in these movies. And I think this idea of a 10-year-old Peter Parker existing, I think if it was just the Venom movies, then I could be okay, and this is the last one, it's set in its own universe, that's fine. But the fact that Morbius is connected and Kraven is connected, and possibly Madam Web at one point was going to be,
and Michael Keaton's Vulture.
And Vulture's in it. You were forming the Sinister Six but now there's not going to be a Spider-Man to fight them until like 10 years later. Like, what is that? Like, why would we? Yeah. Why would anybody want that in this universe?
Yeah, like I would be. Yeah. I want to know, like, so who would you be going up against relatively soon? Like, who is?
Yeah. To me, it almost sounds like because they've made each of these villains like an anti-hero type and not like a villain. I think it almost sounds like they were going to form a Sinister Six that was like an Avengers type group, you know, who like would come together and like actually do some good, which like is just, that's mind boggling if that is like what they were building to.
Yeah. If they were trying to do that, that's absolutely insane.
Yeah. Like,
but the other idea is potentially you have all of them go up against a Venom.
Yeah. But why would that, stupid ass like storyline even happen?
I'm saying like, all of this just, it doesn't, it was a shit idea when they came up with the universe and the ideas. And then they're trying to build good ideas on top of a shit idea to begin with. And it's just now
they haven't built one good idea, to be honest, yet. So yeah, you're probably right.
I
mean, I genuinely haven't liked a Sony movie, like a Sony Spider-Man movie outside of the animated stuff since like Amazing Spider-Man 1.
Yeah.
Which is a long time ago.
I mean, and here's the thing. I enjoy Tom Hardy with Venom. I genuinely think that like I enjoy when it's just him interacting with the symbiote. I enjoy all of that. I really do. It's the stories that just usually, and also like it is Venom, but it's not like, you know, it's
right. It's not. Yeah, it's not like the full version we want. It's not as dark of a Venom as we want. I think I wish I could agree with you that I enjoyed Tom Hardy and Venom's interactions. I am not a fan. Like, I think this is like my least favorite role that I've ever seen Tom Hardy in. I think he's
him
awkward
as Al Capone is probably my least favorite.
Oh, what was that in?
It might have just been called Capone. It was not it wasn't great.
That sounds pretty bad, to be honest. But yeah, I think it's what was I saying? I think it's just it's a bad idea on a lot of bad ideas, like you were saying. And
this one has a potential to be like either the worst or the best one, though, to be honest, because there is a bit of a through line with like the post-credit scene of No Way Home.
I like that there is an impact from that. So there's that at least.
And I really like Juno Temple and I really like Chiwetel Ejiofor. And if they're like, yeah, we would like to go do this movie, there's a part of me that's like, maybe there's something here.
Right.
And if the reason that they're doing the last one and we're calling it The Last Dance is because Sony truly wanted like a finality to it all, then maybe there's like something to it, and like I respect it.
Yeah, it's rare. Like if this is actually the studio's decision and not Tom Hardy's, I think it's rare that we ever get a finality with a superhero character. I mean, the only ones I can even think of recently that have done it would be, I mean, and like Guardians 3 did it, but like everyone lived and like is like living on in their own like path. So like, yeah, there was the finality to them, but it didn't like fully, I guess, like end their stories, you know? So I don't know, maybe this one could even make it more final than like Guardians 3. Who knows? Who knows? But I don't think this one is directed by the same, like either of the two directors that did the first two, right?
No.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's this one could be a mess. You're right. Or it could be the best one of the three, because the first two I have not really enjoyed, to be honest. Right. So but yeah, that's all the Sony mess news today. I'm glad, because I don't want them to keep being a mess. But yeah, our last topic is a really cool one. I guess I should keep that up. So the news is that Damon Lindelof and Chris Mundy are writing the Lantern series for DC. Damon Lindelof is the writer for the shows Lost and Watchmen, and Chris Mundy did
Ozark.
Ozark, right.
Criminal Minds.
This pairing, I couldn't think of a better pairing, because what we were described the show as when James Gunn did the whole DC slate was that this DC Lanterns was going to be like a buddy detective kind of drama with an overarching kind of mystery, and it was going to be set on Earth. I think it was just fully set on Earth, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So one, David Lindelof with Watchmen and Lost, like two of, I think, the greatest like mysteries and shows. And if this is like a detective show, you need a great mystery. And yeah, who better to tap into than Damon Lindelof? And then you have Chris Mundy, who I think, to me, is brought in to like really build out like a flesh out a world, because like his like the way they fleshed out the Ozark world, I think, was done really beautifully, and it wasn't rushed. It just kind of kept expanding slowly over time, and it never felt overwhelming, or it was a good world building. And I think those two together is a super exciting duo.
Yeah, I think, and also on top of him doing like Criminal Minds as well, like he does.
I haven't seen Criminal Minds, so
right, but like Criminal Minds.
It's just like a mystery, right? Every episode, like
you
a
don't know
different
Criminal
episode.
Minds?
I really don't know anything about Criminal Minds, to be honest.
Criminal Minds. It's like a long time running like episodic sort of like
there's a different story every episode.
Think right? Like Law and Order sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So like I think both of these guys know how to tell like not only a mystery, but also like, especially with like with Watchmen, adapting material to a TV series in a really respectful way, but like the way that Watchmen took the original material, brought it up to like the current day, right, and created a whole new story that paid tribute, but also like,
I thought it was really impressive.
It was incredible. I will say, although Damon Lindelof has done some stuff like Lost and Watchmen, he's also written Star Trek Into Darkness and Prometheus and Cowboys and Aliens.
But I don't hate Cowboys and Aliens.
And I'm not.
I thought it was done decently.
But like there's also, it's a little hit and miss, but overall.
But those were all movies, right? I mean, so like on the show aspect, he's kind of nailing it.
Sure. I mean,
so I think if he has,
I haven't seen The Leftovers. I haven't seen Tomorrowland, but those are also. And I think The Leftovers, a lot of people had been kind of like excited and liked a lot. But overall, like I do think like he's great. And I'm really excited. I mean, I think the concept of the show already like has me really excited.
It could be the best concept of like the entire slate for DC. So.
Right. And like, I think the guy like with Chris Mundy, like I think he has shown with like Ozark that he knows how to keep suspense and also write crime, like a crime show.
Right.
So there is that, even though this is more of like a detective sort of thing, like there needs to be like some amount of like, there's still like in a way cops, like space cops.
Right.
So there is like that criminal aspect that needs to be maintained. Right into it.
Right. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. That's even a better reason why Chris Mundy's like attached to this.
Yeah.
Man. Impressive that the DC was able to get some great writers.
Well, I mean, and Watchmen was already HBO and DC. Right. So like, I think Damon probably has like an affinity for the DC comics, and this already seems like such a perfect, at least to me, like such a perfect idea is like of lanterns, of like the Green Lantern Corps, like having them actually be space police is
space cops.
even though
So cool.
fuck cops. But no,
yeah, but space Green Lantern detectives, I'm down
yes,
for it.
Yeah, but like, yes, I think the idea is like, so like I could think of so many different ways to incorporate like because they're saying like they're going to be uncovering like a mystery that's like bigger than anyone could have expected. Like I think there's especially with like the way that James Gunn has done like mysteries with like just Peacemaker.
Right. Yeah.
I'm very, very, very excited.
I mean, even in a sense, like Guardians 2 is a mystery, you know, where they're trying to figure out what the deal is, you know, while on Ego. So yeah, I think James Gunn has an idea for sure what he wants, and he tapped in the right people, and it's a super exciting project and era, I think, for DC. So yeah, super cool. But yeah, I think that is actually our last topic of the day here. Did you get to watch anything this past week?
Not really anything. I mean, I finished the first season of the X-Men animated show.
Oh yeah, was that like as hype as everyone's been saying it is?
Not 97, but the first season of the original animated show.
So you want to get like the full context before you watch the new?
Yeah.
How many seasons are there?
5.
How many episodes in each?
Like about 12 or so.
Oh, okay. I can do that. That's not like 100-something episodes of Clone Wars that I have to get through. So that's nice.
But it's fun. It's fun. It's obviously like older, and there's some cheesiness to it, but like it's fun. I think they do like a pretty good job with like telling classic X-Men stories in a short form animated kind of kind of oriented towards kids.
I wouldn't be surprised though if it like gets better as it goes for you, you know?
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, but the interesting thing is like with the 90s Spider-Man show, like that one was definitely more for kids, but it still was like it wasn't like too kiddie. Like there was still like seriousness in it. But the thing that's interesting about this one is the inherent story and concept with the X-Men of them being like not accepted by like humanity and like prejudice and these big like intellectual thoughts, or not thoughts, but these big intellectual ideas that like Magneto and Xavier have, and it ties in with like the government and like rights and all these things. It's a lot. Like it was really interesting to see it like in a cartoon in the 90s done as well as it was. Nice. So I definitely understand why people like it so much. And they also like they did like Days of Future Past in a pretty like cool way.
In like one episode or what?
2 episodes.
2 episodes? Nice.
So yeah, and then I was telling you I was watching Clarkson's Farm season 3.
Yep.
Which is honestly like it's feel good. It's also like pretty serious at times. It's really dramatic. And
it's got everything you need.
It's not like too heavy. It's not like just an entertaining show to have on and just like binge it, you know?
Yeah. Dope. Well, I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but I finished season 1 and the first episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian with Ryan, our friend Ryan. And that season 1 is a lot better than I remembered. I remember not being like incredibly enthusiastic about it when it first came out, and then I was like really into season 2 though.
Sometimes I think season 1 is potentially better than season 2,
and I think it probably will be. But season 1, man, it's so well done. You have like the first 3 episodes as like, you know, its own arc, and you know, basically him finding the child, you know, Grogu, and basically betraying the um, the bounty hunting guild and leaving Navarro. I think that was like a really great first 3 episodes. And then you have the next 3 episodes still somewhat progressing, but like it's more of a like weekly, story of him going into a town or an area and helping out whoever he needs to, and then going to the next story the next week. But there was also just this like, and I have season 3 like really fresh in my mind, so maybe that's why I'm so like more enthusiastic about this season. But it's so much better filmed than the 3rd season. It's got just a great like dark, serious tone to it. That like it's really good action, and you just had the feeling that like the Mandalorian could do and say like whatever he wants, and it like in Disney wouldn't be like, hey, you gotta like tone back, like it just feels like they can do what they want, and the story is so like better served for it. And season 1's ending is pretty awesome, pretty great and exciting.
I love the last 2 episodes of season 1.
Yeah, 7 and 8. Yeah, him getting the gang back together, and Moff Gideon showing up, and it's really well done.
Quill dying?
Yeah, Queel. Yeah, he died. Yeah, so sad. If he just left him on his ranch, he could have had a happy life.
Also, that Jason Sudeikis little stormtrooper cameo when they're like, that's Jason Sudeikis, who's like when they're the start of like I think it's episode 8 where like they're talking to each other.
Oh, was one of them Jason Sudeikis? That's amazing. Wow. Yeah, I love that moment because you don't ever get to see like stormtroopers just so casual, like so human,
Yeah.
And
I think we should go shoot that guy over there. Yeah.
Right. And I thought it was like the moment where like the scene where like they're shooting at the can and neither of them can hit it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Just incredible. Just like not in your face humor, but like if you're a Star Wars fan, like you're gonna laugh,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the only thing that like really pissed me off about that first season was like the fact that Grogu can force heal. I think that is like a crazy kind of aspect that I don't really need in the show, because it really implies to me, like we discussed this a lot, like me and Ryan, that like it really implies that like Yoda had to have been like taking him under his wing, because like there was only a few Jedi who knew how to force heal at the end of like Order 66, and Yoda was one of them. And I feel like that's the only way my mind can make that connection. But it's insane that like how young Grogu is to even be able to do that. So
right.
So like it means that, but it also means like he's a prodigy, like Anakin and Luke and Rey are, like they are incredibly impressive with the Force. So,
right.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, but I don't hate it, but I definitely could go without it. But it'll be interesting to see if you guys finish season 2 and then only watch episodes like 7 and 8 of it would be
Boba Fett.
It would be
or sorry, 5 and 6.
5 and 6. 5 and 6. Yeah,
watch 5 and 6 and then go to season 3 and see what that feels like.
I think you have to watch 7 though, because 7 is the episode he reunites with Grogu. You have to watch 5, 6, and 7.
Is there 7 episodes of?
There's 7 episodes in Boba Fett. Yeah.
Well, yeah, watch all of those.
Yeah, 7 just kind of sucks though, so that'd be kind of a bummer. But I don't know. It's cool. Like Boba Fett shows up at the end of season 1 for the Mandalorian, and he's wearing like the same getup and like the same weapons he's wearing in Boba Fett. So I'm like, okay, they really had the idea already of Boba Fett at the end of season 1,
right?
So that's kind of cool that it's planned out well, I guess. But Boba Fett was obviously not my favorite show. So, but yeah, I'll probably be watching all of that and having to see the colored speeders again going like 10 miles an hour. So yeah, that'll be fun. But yeah. But that's really all I watched besides like Survivor, which I haven't watched the finale yet. That's out. But yeah, it's Survivor's been great. I highly recommend. Yeah. But yeah, that's all I've really watched. Yep.
Nice.
So yeah, as always, we want to say thank you for watching and listening to us. If you want to watch and listen in the future, we release on Monday mornings on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and video versions on YouTube. If you want to check out our social medias, the links to those are in the description below. And if you want to give us a like, a comment, a rating, a review, or a subscribe, we would greatly appreciate it.
And we will see you again next time.